Okay, so now that Godzilla Kong The New Empire is officially out and I have seen it and reviewed it, I figured now would be no better time than to make an updated Godzilla movie ranking video. I decided to go with a tier list format because a lot of people like tier lists, and also I have a few criterias. Okay, so the number one criteria that I have to say off the bat is this is not going to be an objective list. Like, this is not going to be what I think are the best made Godzilla movies. This is purely and utterly going to be my personal favorite ranking. That is how I'm going to rank this list. Maybe at a future point, I could try to come up with a more objective list, but this is going to go the official real life Ryan, what I feel in my heart of hearts, like what I connect to. This is my official favorites list. The other thing I saw is that on this particular tier list, they do have the Singular Point animated series and the Monarch series. So I have watched Singular Point. Unfortunately, I have not watched Monarch yet. I don't have Apple TV, and I haven't had the motivation to try to find it elsewhere yet. But I'm not going to include those because I want this to be just about the movies. And if you start adding in TV shows and stuff, they're missing a few. They're missing the 70s Godzilla cartoon. They're missing the American Godzilla cartoon based on the Emmerich movie. So there's a few things missing here. So you know what? We're not going to include television series or anime except for the movies. We're going to do just the movies, okay? So that's what we're going to do. I also usually like to try to put some limitations on S tier because I feel like S tier needs to be reserved for the best of the best. So I might use S tier for like my top 10. So S tier will be like my top 10 favorite Godzilla movies, and then I will move down past that, even if I think the next movie is still kind of deserving to be up there, because there's a lot of these movies that probably, in my opinion, deserve to be S tier. So let's get right going, man. Let's start with the very first Godzilla movie. I think there is no denying, and I won't spend too much time on this. I won't try to get into long monologues about every single movie or anything. I've already reviewed this. It's been talked about to death. Everybody knows that the original Godzilla movie is iconic, not just because it's a great Godzilla movie, but it's a great film in general. I think just anybody, no matter what kind of movies you're into, I think Godzilla is one of those films that stands the test of time. It has profound statement to say about humanity and our lust for power and what we are willing to do with it, and if it's worth bringing that into the new world or if that will cause even more devastation than before. Has a lot of allegories to the nuclear bomb in Hiroshima and all of that stuff, and it has inspired countless generations of monster movies and kaiju movies. It is the best of the best. And in a way, I've always said this, I kind of view the original Godzilla film outside of the others. Like, it kind of is on its own pedestal by itself. Like, if there was an S plus tier, that would be the only one. Like, it's really hard for me to think about the original Godzilla with the rest of the franchise. Like, I kind of just consider it to be its own thing that just, to me, is like one of those films like Seven Samurai or Jaws or, it just King Kong, the original King Kong, like one of those monster movies that just is so good that you can't even put it in comparison with anything else. The same cannot be said, however, for the first Godzilla sequel, Godzilla Raids Again. Although I do like that it introduces Anguirus, who I think is, he's the underdog of the Godzilla universe. The first monster Godzilla ever fights in film is Anguirus. Can never take that away from him. But the story itself about the pilots and, I don't know. It's very uninteresting. It's not really as engaging as the original. The monster fights aren't even that great because it's their first time kind of doing it. And it does have a little bit of a charm, seeing the puppets fight each other. I like that kind of stuff. But compared to the franchise itself, it's kind of a lower one for me. So I'm going to put Godzilla Raids Again in D tier. I'm going to put it down there in D tier. Now, Godzilla versus King Kong, the original, is a ton of fun, and we're going to enter into, so the Showa era is my favorite era of Godzilla, and some of these particular Showa movies, as a child, I watched so many times, I literally wore out the VHS tape, and King Kong vs. Godzilla is one of them. I think this movie is a ton of fun. I think it's legitimately great. I don't know why they decided to give King Kong, electric powers, I guess just to make him on par with Godzilla. It's a great movie. It's fun. I'm putting it up in S tier. I love it. This next one, though, I will say Godzilla vs. Mothra. The original Godzilla vs. Mothra from the Showa era, I think, legitimately, I'm not even joking, I think this movie is almost as good as the original. I think this movie has a lot to say about, again, humanity. Like, it sticks with the deeper themes. similar to the first movie, except this one's more about the environment and how we treat it, and also how people believe they can control and monetize everything. The whole movie's premise is about these businessmen that find the Mothra egg that doesn't belong to them. They want it. They want them to return the egg to Infant Island where it belongs. They refuse to. They want to profit off of it. Godzilla shows up. And it just all hell breaks out, and then they need to go and kind of beg them for help, even though they weren't able to help them in the process. And it's this whole kind of idea of maybe we bring hope to the next generation, which, a lot of people complain about. Why does Godzilla, he defeats Mothra, spoiler, but then gets defeated by the 2 Mothra babies. It's like, why do the babies defeat Godzilla? It's like, because it's symbolism about the next generation potentially being better than the current one, or doing better. I think it has a lot of important things to say about humanity. So I'm putting it up there. It's going to be next. I already got 3 S tiers. See, I'm already 4 movies in. I got 3 S tiers. So I'm only allowing myself 10. The next one, Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster. This one is a little bit in the middle for me because I do think there's a lot of great things in it. It's the first time that you see Godzilla and Rodan team up with Mothra to take down Ghidorah. It's Ghidorah's first appearance, one of the best Godzilla villains of all time. But the story itself about the princess that believes she's from Venus or whatever, very attractive woman, by the way, that plays the princess. That always, even as a kid, that was like, wow, she's very pretty. But yeah, the story itself just doesn't really do it for me. And unfortunately, there is a lot of human story and not a lot of monster stuff until the very end. And it kind of takes me out of it when I watch it, especially compared to the next one, because these are kind of like the Ghidorah duology here. And yeah, so this one's going to be like C tier for me. But the next one, Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, I'm going to put this up, I think, in A tier for me, because I think this one is a lot better than the first one. Unfortunately, Mothra is not there, but it's the only film where Godzilla goes to space. So it's the only movie where Godzilla has a fight off of planet Earth to this day. And it's the introduction of aliens, bringing aliens into the Godzilla universe, going heavy sci-fi with the Zillions that I want them to bring back. I want the Monsterverse to do the Zillions. And Glenn, motherfucking Glenn, the first like American actor as a lead in a Godzilla film. And also Glenn is such a suave, like badass, romantic motherfucker that I just want to have Glenn's Riz. Now I know Riz is like a recent term, it's a recent slang term. But when I think about the word Riz, I think about Glenn. Now Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, this might be controversial because a lot of people don't like this one. Again, this is nostalgia bias for me, I'm sure. And like I said, this list is not objective. It's my personal favorites. But Godzilla vs. Sea Monster is another one of those that I watched over and over and over again as a kid. I really enjoy it. I have a lot of fun with it. It's a much simpler story. It's just Godzilla on an island. A bunch of characters get shipwrecked. There is, a group of military characters there that are subjugating the natives of Infant Island, and they break Godzilla out to kind of take him down. And then of course there's a giant lobster there too, because why not? I have a lot of fun with it. I recognize that it's not one of the best, but I like it a lot, so I'm gonna put it in B tier. The next one, Son of Godzilla. Okay, so this one, it really depends on your sensibilities and your mood, because this is where Godzilla gets really, really silly. I mean, obviously, we're introducing the son of Godzilla, Minya. I've gone through a lot of phases with Minya. I feel like as a kid, I hated him. And then as I got older, I started to appreciate it. Like, these Godzilla movies are geared towards kids, it's whatever. But then as I got even older, I'm like, I kind of hate this little shit. But it's not the worst. I'm going to put it in D tier, but I'm going to put it above Godzilla Raids Again. Destroy All Monsters. So this was the big culmination of the entire Toho shared universe that at the time, way before Marvel, not before the Universal monsters, but still pretty early. They had the Rodan movie and the Mothra movie, War of the Gargantuas, all technically takes place in the same universe as the Godzilla movies. And this movie, they brought in as many monsters as they could. Now, there's some that are just kind of in the background that you don't really get to see. Like poor Varen is just like a puppet on a string. Felt really bad for Ghidorah in this movie because it's like every monster ever versus Ghidorah. And it's like, Come on, man. But it's a good, I mean, it's another alien invasion story. You know, you get to see the monsters in other places in the world. You get to see like Moscow and New York City and stuff, which is cool. I like it a lot. So I'm gonna put it up in I'll put it up in A tier. However, this next movie, this is another controversial one, and I think you either love or hate this movie, and unfortunately, I fall on the side of hating it. This is Godzilla's Revenge. This is a movie that basically is the worst of the worst. It is the worst Godzilla movie in my opinion because it's really not a Godzilla movie. It's about a kid in Japan that gets bullied. He gets captured and he has this fantasy about going to Monster Island and communicating, like actually talking to Godzilla's son. But they have all these scenes where Godzilla shows up and it's all just stock footage and clips of previous Godzilla movies. And it's just like, I don't know, man. Like there's no... it's not even really a Godzilla movie. But then you have a whole group of the fandom that's like, no, it's actually brilliant because it has a lot of commentary, you know, about growing up in Japan at the time. And probably it does. But I never watch it. I never watch it. I never care to watch it. Even after I got the Criterion, you know, the big Blu-ray set of all the Showa movies, I've watched those movies over and over and over and over again. I have not watched Godzilla's Revenge. This is the one I have probably not seen in the longest amount of time. I've not watched it since I was like 20 years ago. I just can't do it. Then Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster. I also have an interesting backstory with this one because this was the only Showa movie that I never saw as a kid, which is weird because a lot of people say that this was the one that they watched over and over again. I watched all the Showa movies as a kid over and over, but I never saw a Smog Monster. I never had it. Like there was no VHS tape of it ever that I could find. So I never saw it until I was an adult, and it is weird. It is wacky. The villain is cool, just this creature made of toxicity and sludge and nastiness. But yeah, it does a lot of. There's like weird animations and slow mo, and I don't even know how I fully feel about this movie. It is the one that has Godzilla using his atomic breath to fly. And I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that. I think I'm going to put it in C tier. Yeah. Godzilla vs. Gigan, I'm probably going to upset a lot of people here too, but I don't really care for this one. It also uses a lot of stock footage, although the storyline is, you know, original. I think the characters in it are good. The main human character is a manga artist, so that's an interesting thing. But the movie itself, I mean, this is where the effects were getting really bad. Like I said, a lot of reuse of scenes that they've already used. The Godzilla suit looks horrible. I never really cared too much for Gigan as well. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for saying that too. It just doesn't do it for me, man. I'll give it a C. I'll give it a C because it has some moments, but it just doesn't really do it for me. And then Godzilla vs. Megalon, again, it's one of those where it's like you love it or hate it, Jet Jaguar. I hated it as a kid, which is funny because these are the movies that are geared towards children. As an adult, I think I have more of an appreciation for the silliness of it. It is the quintessential cheesy Godzilla movie. Like, it is the one that everybody uses, the gif of Godzilla sliding on his tail. Underground City awakes Megalon. Jet Jaguars, this, you know, kind of Ultraman parody. Yeah, I don't know. It's got its place in Godzilla history. I'll put it in C tier. I can't put it above Ghidorah, but I'll put it in C tier. Now, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, the original, this is the one for me when I was a kid. Like, this is the one that I watched the most. I think it was probably the first Godzilla movie I ever owned. I had the VHS. Fun fact, a lot of these movies were retitled when they came to America. So the VHS copy I had was called Godzilla vs. the Cosmic Monster. I don't know why. And even as a kid, that confused me. Because in the movie, they say Mechagodzilla, and they never once say Cosmic Monster. Anyways, this movie's S tier. I love this fucking movie. I don't know if I can put it above the other three, but it's going to be S tier. Terror of Mechagodzilla, the final Showa movie, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla and Titanosaurus. I think it's really good. I don't think it's as good as the first Mechagodzilla one, but I do like it a lot. I think I'm going to put it above... I'll put it A tier, but I like Destroy All Monsters more, so I got to put it there. All right, so now we are going into the Heisei era, the second wave of Godzilla movies. And a lot of people's favorite for very good reasons. And, you know, it was my favorite for a while until I think just like my childhood nostalgia got the better of me. And I got to say, I like the Showa era the best. But the Heisei era has the most consistency when it comes to storyline, when it comes to Godzilla's design is the same, you know, throughout the whole thing, except for the first one. And, you know, it has some crossover characters, which never happened before with Miki, and it is very contained. Like it's like it really is a series where every movie kind of advances the story and advances the plot from the last one. Even though there are different main human characters, whatever is happening in the world and with Godzilla, it just consistently goes until, you know, Destroya, where, you know, all shit hits the fan. So it is probably the best, I'd say, continuity of Godzilla movies. 1984. I'm kind of, I like it, but if I'm going to watch a solo Godzilla movie, it's probably the one I would go back to the least. Like, I'd rather watch 54. I'd rather watch, you know, -1 now. Like, if I'm going to do a solo Godzilla movie, it's probably my least favorite to watch, but it is a really great movie. I think I'm probably going to put it, for me, I guess I'll put it in B tier. It's pretty good. Now, Godzilla vs. Biollante. This is my shit, okay? I love this movie, and this is where, like, the tier list, this is where it's going to get controversial because this is a personal favorite tier list. I'm putting it second. I love Godzilla vs. Biollante so much. That movie is near and dear to my heart. I love everything about it. I love the storyline. I love the monster. I love the concept of Biollante. I love the way Biollante has these different forms. I like the rose form with the tentacles and the crocodile form. I think Godzilla is just wreaking so much havoc in this movie. I like the characters. I like the concept. I love everything about this movie. The music, even though it's not the classic Godzilla score, the music is so good. I love this movie. If there's any monster in the entire pantheon of the Godzilla universe that I want to see make a comeback, it is Biollante. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I don't care what anyone says. Love it. It is my second favorite Godzilla movie, minus the first one. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. I think this movie is good, although it does introduce time travel as a concept, and it does get really silly. This came out around the time of, like, Terminator 2, so there's, like, a Terminator, you know, android in the movie. But all that aside, the monster fights are good. And you do get a little bit of backstory and history about what created Godzilla, like, more explicitly. Like, you always know, like, the atomic bomb had something to do with it, whether it mutated a creature or woke a creature up from long ago. But this movie actually literally shows you, hey, no, actually there was a dinosaur, you know, that was, you know, hit with the bomb and then mutated into God. It actually gives you Godzilla's origin. So it's really good. I like it. I'm going to put it up in B tier for me, very high B tier. The next one, too, the Godzilla vs. Mothra from the Heisei era. Really great movie. Great monster. Like, the last 30 minutes of this one is fantastic. It introduces Batra, kind of like an evil doppelganger of Mothra. Really great movie. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. It's just a matter of, is it B tier or A tier for me? I think I like it more than Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. I'll put it A tier. You know what? I really like this one. This is a good one. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla from the Heisei era. This is my least favorite Mechagodzilla design. I don't like how dorky he looks. Also introduces the Heisei son of Godzilla. And it's not as bad as you would think it is. Rodan's in here too, which is pretty cool. It's a good movie, but not one that I revisit a whole lot. I'm going to put it in high C tier. Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. This is another one for me that I don't really care for. I'm not really big on, like, doppelganger villains, except for Mechagodzilla. Space Godzilla is kind of cool, but I don't know. I just it just doesn't really do it for me. It's like I said, I don't hate this movie. I don't hate any of these movies except for Godzilla's Revenge, but this one doesn't really do it for me. I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna put it. Or wait, yeah, I'm gonna put it above Mechalon. I'm gonna put it there. Godzilla vs. Destroya, though, this one is great. Destroya is one of the most powerful Godzilla villains to this day, based around the Oxygen Destroyer. This one has Godzilla's son actually growing up and kind of like becoming almost a second Godzilla. And the classic burning Godzilla, he's going to explode, basically a nuclear bomb. And it's the finale of the Heisei series. And this one really does feel like a finale. Like, it feels like the last movie. And spoiler alert, one of the only Godzilla films where Godzilla dies. So, you know, it's got to say something for that. So I'm putting it up in my S tier. So how many we got up there? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Next is the Roland Emmerich American Godzilla movie from 1998. Here's what I'll say about this. I like this movie. I think it's a fun movie. I think it's a good monster film, but it's a horrible Godzilla film because all the things that make Godzilla Godzilla are taken away. He's, you know, more of like a dinosaur or a T-Rex in this movie. He's susceptible to humans attacking him in airplanes and missiles and stuff. He doesn't really have the atomic breath. And you could tell that they were basically capitalizing on Jurassic Park. Like they were basically making a Jurassic Park movie and not a Godzilla movie. But having said all that, I do like the movie. And maybe part of that is because it did come out when I was a kid and I was excited for it. And I did see it in the theater. But, you know, I rewatched it like a year or two ago and I think it's a fun movie. So, but it's hard to rank with Godzilla movies because it's not a Godzilla movie, you know? So it's really, really hard to rank. I'm going to put it up in D tier, and this, I might get some hate here. I might get some hate. I don't know. But I like it more than Godzilla Raids Again. I like it more than Son of Godzilla. Yeah, go ahead and hate me if you guys want. Anyways, next one is Godzilla 2000. I love this movie. So after Godzilla 98 came out, you know, Japan was like, all right, fuck, we got to show these Americans what Godzilla actually is. The Millennium era is very interesting. It has a lot of variety to it. It's very short, but I love Godzilla's design. I love the really jagged spikes. I love how vicious he is in this movie. I like the human characters, like the Storm Watchers. I like the father-daughter dynamic that goes on with the main characters. I thought that was really cute. I like the villain. I like that they didn't promote the villain. Like you thought this was going to be a solo Godzilla movie, and then they actually introduce a new villain. So I like this one a lot. I'm going to put it up in S tier for me. I really like it. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. So Godzilla versus Megaguirus. This one's strange to think about because I never think about it. I never think about this movie, but I don't hate it. Like I don't dislike this movie. It's just, it never comes up in my mind to rewatch. And I rarely ever hear anybody talk about it. It's just kind of there. There's some cool stuff in this movie. Like they do flashback footage to 1954, but they show the new design there. You know, they try to defeat Godzilla with like a black hole. Like there's really cool stuff happening. But for some reason, it doesn't have like staying power. Like you don't think about it. I'm going to put it up in B tier. I'm going to put it behind Godzilla 1984. So the next one, GMK. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I have a big GMK poster behind me. I love this one. Now, it does change the entire mythology of all of the Godzilla movies, but it's kind of its own thing. Like a lot of the Millennium movies, they don't really have continuity. Like they're just their own thing. Godzilla is evil in this, like pure personified evil in this movie. And then you have Ghidorah, Mothra, and Baragon as kind of like the guardians of Earth fighting him. And I love the main character in this movie, the news reporter girl and her father. Again, father-daughter relationship, which I really liked. And the monster action is just insane. It's just one of the best. I'm going to put it up here. I will put it, let's see. I like it, I guess, more than these two. So I'm going to put it there. So that's moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. So only 2 more S tiers are allowed. And oh man, it's going to, oh man. Okay. Anyways, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. So the Millennium Mechagodzilla version, really, really cool. The 90s is where they actually started using Mechagodzilla, like kind of like a Gundam. But this one adds some really interesting mythology where they build the Mechagodzilla around the original Godzilla bones. And then at one point, I don't know how this happens, but I don't really care. The Mechagodzilla begins getting controlled by the original Godzilla bones. And it's basically like 2 Godzillas attacking at once. Crazy. Good main characters. And this is really like a mech movie. Like this one and the next one, because they use Mechagodzilla kind of like a Gundam. You know, you could put it in that classification. Like you could put it into the mech genre also. I'll put it in my B tier, I guess. I'll put it there. I'll put it right there. And then Godzilla Tokyo SOS is the sequel, is the continuation of that one, which I think is actually a little bit better. This one adds in Mothra. The action is really great. Nothing really bad to say about it. I think it's a little bit better than that one. and I got to put it, I'll put it up here. Actually, I'll put it above Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. So I'll put it above there. So that's, yeah, I think that's right. That's where I want him. That's where I want him. Then we have Godzilla Final Wars, which was the last Godzilla movie for a very long time. Some people don't remember the Dark Age. The Dark Age from 2004 to 2014, where there was no Godzilla, a full decade of no Godzilla content. And Final Wars was the last one that we got. You know, nowadays is crazy. In the last 10 years, we got, look at all this. Look at all these movies that came out in the last 10 years, where there's a 10-year gap in between these two movies. And then since this movie, in the last 10 years, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Godzilla movies. Crazy, crazy. Anyways, I love Final Wars. It's ridiculous. It's over the top. It's very Matrix inspired. But it just, if you want to see, Final Wars does two great things. It gives us that one character with the mustache that has probably one of my favorite lines in any Godzilla movie, where he's talking to the aliens. And he's like, there's two things you don't know about Earth. One is me, and the second is Godzilla. Just like, I love it. And if you just want to see Godzilla kick as much ass as possible, like if you want to see Godzilla be the Terminator, if you want to see Godzilla just wreak like havoc against every single monster ever, it's this one. Love it, love it, love it. I'm going to put it right there. I think that's good. Actually, yeah, it's going to be in my S tier. So that means I only have room for one more S tier. And I know what's going to go there, but I don't know how it will be responded to, but we'll see. Godzilla 2014, I just reviewed all the Monsterverse movies. 2014, I think, has a lot of great stuff in it. I think visually it's very compelling. I love the sense of scale. But overall, like, some of the worst human characters and just the constant cutaways of not being able to see the monsters got tiring. You know, I'm glad it exists because it started a new era of Godzilla movies, but overall, it kind of missed the mark to me. I'm going to put it in C tier. I'll put it... Do I like it more than Godzilla vs. Gigan? Probably like around the same. I'll put it there. Damn, that's low. That's low for Godzilla 2014. But it's true. I mean, I can't... Yeah, I'm going just pure like my favorites. I'm not going by like best made movies. So yeah, that's where it goes. Shin Godzilla is my final S tier. I wrestled with this. Listen, here, I want you guys to know. I wrestled with this, and I've been wrestling with this, and maybe it will change when I get a chance to watch Godzilla -1 again. Because I was trying to figure out my top 10 Godzilla movies. And, you know, Godzilla -1 is an incredible film. Again, if I'm going objectively, like, as a film, as a movie, not personal favorites, but as a film, I would probably put it at, like, 2 or 3. But if I'm going personal favorites, I wrestled with this. Which one hits the mark a little bit more for me? And it's Shin Godzilla. For me, just my personal sensibilities, Shin Godzilla worked a little bit more for me. Maybe because it delves into a little bit more of the horror aspect of it. I really love the kind of, like, strange, like, Lovecraftian, like, evolution, you know, that Godzilla has. Like, I don't know quite how to explain it. And I like this idea of human beings scrambling to deal with something they don't understand and having absolutely no chance in order to try to overcome it. Just like this fear and paranoia that kind of plays into like how the government responds to something. Like, you know, when you look at your world leaders of like not being able to actually, you know, be able to solve the problem, like they're in way over their heads and they can't comprehend it. Not to mention the fact of how Godzilla evolves and how he looks and just like the sheer terror that he exudes just through that like blank expressionless face that he has. I don't know. I love Shin Godzilla. I've loved it since it came out. I've been a big defender of Shin Godzilla for years, man, and I still am, and it is in my top 10. It did hit my top 10. So there you go. There's my top 10. All right, so next we got to do the Netflix anime trilogy. Man, these movies, listen, I've wanted a good Godzilla anime for a long time, but these did not hit the mark. I love the concept of it, though. That's why these movies frustrate me so much, because I love the idea that Godzilla was like so powerful that humanity left Earth, and then they come back, you know, decades later, and Godzilla is still there. And it's just like, You know, there's something about it that I really like. I love this sort of turning Godzilla into more of like a symbol of just destruction. Like he's not even really a character. He's just this giant lumbering thing that destroys. I love the concept of it. The first one I think was the best. So we'll put the first anime Godzilla movie. I'll put that up in C tier. I'll give that a C tier. I'll give that the benefit. But the next two, yeah, D tier. And the third one was a little bit better than the second one. Yeah, that's where it's going to go. I'll give the first one a little bit of an edge because it had some moments and I liked the concept a lot, but the second and third one just didn't do it for me. All right, so continuing the Monsterverse, Godzilla King of the Monsters. This is still my favorite Monsterverse movie. I know there was a little bit too much human character stuff, but I think Ghidorah was awesome in it. I love that they brought back the original score. I love the Rodan sequence. Like my favorite scene, it's funny, my favorite scene in the Godzilla movie is the Rodan scene, but it really is. I love this one. I'm going to put it up in B tier for me. Above this. Ooh, oh my God, this is going to piss people off. I'm going to put it above this one. I'm going to put it above 84. I'm sorry. I'm going to put it above the first Godzilla, Mechagodzilla. I'm going to put it above Sea Monster. But that's where it's going to end. All right, it's going to go there. Mid B tier. Yes, that's where it goes for me. Godzilla vs. Kong. This movie, you know, coming off of the pandemic and stuff, one of the first big movies, and the fact that it was 60 years in the making, I felt like a little kid again when I saw this in the theater. I think it has a lot of fun aspects to it. I think it's a really great movie. I think it's a really fun movie. It's also going to be B tier. Yeah, I'm sorry. Man, I know that some people are like diehard Godzilla 1984 fans, and I like it. Listen, I don't dislike any of these movies, but I'm going to put Godzilla vs. Kong here. Yep, that's where it goes. All right, Godzilla -1. Look, like I said, it was very, very close. It's going to be my highest A tier. It was right there. I was trying to decide between Shin and -1, which would be the final one in my top 10. Right now, it's Shin. Look, I've only seen Godzilla -1 one time in the theater. So maybe after I watch it a few more times, it'll, you know, maybe I'll swap them out. But right now, that's where it's going to go. And finally, Godzilla Kong New Empire. Really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun with it. You know, it is a little bit too silly for me at times, but there's a lot of great stuff in it. I really enjoyed. I think I'm going to put it, oh, this is hard. Do I like it more than Godzilla vs. King, or Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster? No, I don't think I do. So I think I'll put it right there because I think I do like it more than Space Godzilla. So I think I'll put it there. All right. So the only other two, like I said, are the TV shows, the Singular Point and Monarch, which I haven't had a chance to see. So I'm only doing the movies. So right here. All right. There you have it. There is my definitive list about my personal favorite Godzilla movies in order. With my top 10 being the original 54, Biollante, Godzilla vs. Mothra, King Kong vs. Godzilla, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, GMK, Godzilla vs. Destroya, Godzilla 2000, Godzilla Final Wars, and Shin Godzilla. Those are my top 10. But everything else is really close. And also, like I said, I love all these movies. The only ones from D tier down, those are the ones I can kind of take or leave. Like, you know, that's fine. But, like, I don't outright really hate any of these movies except for maybe Godzilla's Revenge. But that's about it. Anyways, guys, tell me what you think of my list down below. This was just for fun. I'm curious what you guys have to say. And also, in the comments, if you want to, put your top 10 Godzilla movies or your top 5 if you have, or, you know, top 3. Put your tops, whatever. You don't have to rank all of them. You can if you want to. But at least your top 10 or your top 5, let me know down below. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Please give it a thumbs up and a comment to help it out in the algorithm. Other than that, guys, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll talk to you next time.